Good evening, everyone. Chris McDonald, the Mac Files, Monday night, September the 19th, 2016, 1 week from the first presidential debate. We're so glad that you're with us tonight, and we're going to get right into this. We had a few technical problems there. Thank you to a dear friend who let me know I was doing my Milli Vanilli impression again, lip syncing, talking without words coming out. So I'm sure the spirit of Milli Vanilli is excited to see that they're not the only ones that did that years ago. For those of you who don't know who Milli Vanilli are, they were the group that got caught lip syncing to songs they supposedly wrote. So I wasn't lip syncing, I just didn't have the mic on, but it's on now. And we're ready to go here on this 8th edition of the Mac Files. We are so happy to have you tonight. Just a few housekeeping things, and then we're going to get right into our broadcast this evening. We had planned to do a podcast this weekend about the police officers. Saturday was Think a Police Officer Day, and we are a news editor with the East Tennessee Times. We encourage you to visit us there at easttntimes.com. We're an online newspaper right now, soon to be in print. But part of my duties this weekend, I had to man the station because of the events in New York, which we're going to talk about tonight. And some other things. We're going to deal with Mr. Obama's comments about Donald Trump over the weekend and address him. And we're also going to deal a little bit with Football Sunday at the end. We're going to talk about yesterday's NFL action, which was great. My Falcons won. Go Dirty Birds. We love y'all. We are a Falcons fan, and we like the Panthers too. They're near us here in Tennessee. They're in Charlotte, but we bleed red and black. And we're so proud of our boys going out to Oakland yesterday and beating them. And we're going to talk a little football at the end, what happened over the weekend, and then in college football as well. And for all the Florida State fans out there, hang in there, please. No suicide watch notes, no cutting your throats. It's just one game. Season's young. Got to bounce back. But to put it mildly, we did get our asses kicked. So got to regroup. Florida State fell to number 13 in the polls, and we'll deal with that a little bit when we talk football at the end tonight. But anyway, more pressing matters right now. I want to deal with this bombing attempt that has taken place in New York. It took place over the weekend. And they caught the guy that was responsible for it roughly about 8 hours ago at 10, 11 this morning. And I want to just deal with him a little bit. His name is Ahmad Khan Rahami. He's a 28-year-old American citizen from Afghanistan. And the more the reports come out about him tonight, basically he is a very angry American. Did not pay child support. He railed against American culture. He was very unhappy to be here. Went to Afghanistan a few years ago, from what his friends are saying. He came back from Afghanistan basically hating the country, hating gays, hating everybody. And that sort of led to this attempted event that he did set off one bomb in the Chelsea suburbs of Manhattan, and that bomb injured 29 people. There were 5 other bombs, in the town of Elizabeth that authorities found and detonated. One of those they detonated without any injury. But this man meant business, and this could have been a lot worse than it was. And we are very grateful to our law enforcement, and we're very grateful to the police officers that found this, the FBI for catching this man very quick. And we'll get more into the politics of it, what was being done, because there was some pretty rotten things that were done over the weekend politically by the news media to Donald Trump about this same situation. And I also want to deal with the people of New York, the governor and the mayor. I salute Governor Cuomo. I'm not a big fan of his politically, but he went on Fox News this morning, a stand-up guy, basically looked into the camera, told the truth. Told the news media, told Fox, told other outlets this was a terror attack. He had no problem saying it was terror compared to Mr. de Blasio, who did. And de Blasio had every evidence in front of him that this was a terror-related incident. And folks, it doesn't have to be a terror cell coming from another country flying planes into buildings to be terror. When you stick 6 bombs along a street, I don't care what city it is, and you expect them to go off and hurt people, that's terrorism. And this country has the hardest time dealing with that reality. And many of our leaders are going to get us killed because they can't deal with that. And that needs to stop. This political correct atmosphere about Islam and Islamic terrorists are going to get us killed. And that is so pathetic, and I'll deal with that a little bit more in a second. But I want to get back to Mr. Rahami because he is a very, very bad guy. He is in custody tonight. There was a shootout. We reported it on our website this morning at the East Tennessee Times. Local officers, there were local reports that 4 officers were involved in the shootout with him, and it caused him to, they got injured. 4 got injured slightly, but thankfully, with the 29 injured in Chelsea and the 4 police officers, that even though they were injured, thank God, nobody got killed in this event. This could have been far, far, far worse than it was. And we are very grateful to law enforcement tonight. We're grateful to the FBI. But most of all, we're thankful to God for protecting the citizens of New York from another possible tragedy that could have really done some damage. This really had the earmarkings to me when I first heard about it last night, and actually over the weekend, Saturday. It reminded me a little bit of Paris, what took place in November of 2015. We're coming up on the year anniversary of the rampage that killed nearly 249 people in Paris. And very, very similar methods that were used in this attack was used in Paris. They spread bombs out over the city, strategic places. I understand one of these bombs were placed near a schoolyard that the police detonated before it could do any damage. This guy meant business, folks. There's no doubt about it. This guy meant business. He was again, he hated gays. His wife or his ex-wife, the one that he was a deadbeat dad to the daughter for, her quote tonight is, he would speak often of Western culture and how it was different back home. He said how there weren't homosexuals in Afghanistan, and he made a very clear point that we had those over here, but they didn't have them back in a Muslim country. And I don't want to get into that dynamic of this tonight. That's for another time, another place. But tonight, it's clear that this guy was very scary, very I can't talk. Very driven by ideology, Islamic ideology. Very driven by Islam and his beliefs. Very driven to do what he did. And again, it is just by the grace of God. It is by the grace of God and a great law enforcement effort that we did not have more people get hurt, and especially the fact that we did not have anybody killed. And his daughter's mother is not painting a very pretty picture of him tonight in the press, but it is clear that this guy was a very bad person. His family owned a fried chicken establishment in Elizabeth, and the irony of this is the name of that chicken place was First American Fried Chicken. But it's clear that he did not put America first today. And there had been some past contact, looks like, with authorities. They had a record. And there has just been, that has been one thing that we've been listening to and talking about all day long. The other thing that happened over the weekend that bears talking about is the attack in Minnesota at the mall there near St. Cloud, where a knife wielding suspect who actually dressed up like a security guard began walking around the Minnesota St. Cloud mall there, and with a knife attacked 8 people. While he was doing this, he was shot dead by an off-duty police officer before he could really do any harm. Those 8 people were injured, but not seriously. And but the thing that stood out in this barrage of violence that this man engaged in was that during the time he was walking around the mall, his statement was basically he was the son of ISIS, the ISIL state, or whatever he referred to it. Witnesses say that he made very many, he made several references to Allah. He said basically that he was there to do damage, and it was shortly after this that the suspect that was shot, ISIS, came out. They took credit for this. This attack took place around 8:15 Saturday night, roughly about the same time that the attack in New York went down at Chelsea. So it's been a very violent weekend, a very scary weekend around parts of the country. And it just reminds us all of the dangerous time that we're in. It reminds us all of the danger that each one of us face. It doesn't really matter. They are very non-discriminatory about who they target. They don't care what age you are, what color you are, what religion you are. They don't care about those things. They care about one thing, and that is mayhem and violence and killing as many Americans as they can. And until our government gets that in their thick skulls, folks, it's going to be a very dangerous time to be in America. And I just want to make a few comments about this. Now that I've gotten the logistical stuff out of the way, I want to talk a little bit about the reaction in the news media today, especially yesterday when Donald Trump came out Saturday night, actually, and he made a comment, and I want to get to that story. I'm pulling this up right here. It's amazing to me how this media is so invested in Hillary Clinton. I mean, it is just absolutely unreal that whenever she says anything, they are quick to either edit it, cut it, to make it look like she knows what she's talking about. And when Donald Trump uses the very same terminology, they jump all over it as if saying, well, this was reckless and he don't know what he shouldn't have come out and said that right away. He could have created panic. I mean, this was just a barrage of things that came out about Trump. There's a report out in Politico today, and actually the Hill confirmed it, that when Hillary Clinton was calling the New York and New Jersey attacks bombings Saturday night at the very same time before she started criticizing Donald Trump's use of the term bomb. And that's according to an ABC News transcript. However, the story is that CNN edited out her opening sentence using the term bombing in its breaking coverage Saturday night. And this is what their first line of their report was Saturday night. I've been briefed about bombings in New York and New Jersey and the attacks in Minnesota. Now, she said that before CNN's coverage picked up her statement with the following remarks. This is what CNN led with. Obviously, we need to do everything we can to support our first responders, also to pray for the victims. We have to let this investigation unfold. We've been in touch with various officials, including the mayor's office in New York, to learn what they are discovering as they conduct this investigation. I'll have more to say about it when we actually know the facts. Now, this is Clinton, what she said. Then a reporter comes up. He asked Mrs. Clinton, he says, well, what about Donald Trump calling the explosion a bomb? And as typical crooked Hillary would do, and as typical as individual as she is to twist words with somebody else when she can't tell the truth herself, this is what she responded. She says, well, I think it's important to know the facts about any incident like this. That's why it's critical to support the first responders, the investigators who are looking into it, trying to determine. I think it would have been wiser to wait until you have information before making conclusions. That part the media reported. But they didn't report her statement on the plane seconds before Donald Trump said that he had heard word that there had been a bombing in New York, there was a bomb located in New York, when she said, I have been briefed about the bombings in New York and New Jersey and the attacks in Minnesota. And again, folks, this speaks to the double standard and to the crookedness and to the complete, hilariously biased media that we've got in this country heading into this debate Monday night. And if I'm Donald Trump, you know, I've not agreed with everything Donald Trump has said about the media. I know he has excoriated them at times. I know that he has said the fix is in. He has laid into them very much about being unfair. But folks, I've gotten to the point I'm beginning to believe it. I really believe he's right. And I felt like he was right all along, but it's hard to put it into words unless you're seeing it for yourself. And I just gave you an example. And that's how they treated him all weekend. Pundit after pundit after pundit. Trump shouldn't have said it. Trump shouldn't have said it. Trump shouldn't have said it. He's going to create panic. Golly, how can he be president saying it's a bomb when he don't know? When she was saying the exact same thing. She was saying it was a bombing. And folks, it didn't take the press much time to get it out Saturday night that a bomb had went off in New York. So we're not talking Donald Trump saying this blindly. There had been news reports that had started circulating Saturday night when he made his comments. This is what happened. But yet their take on it is Donald Trump's unstable, his temperament's bad because he used the word bomb. Hillary Clinton, she is presidential because she went after the first responders. And she didn't use that same term, but she did. She did. Seconds at the same time Donald Trump said his statement. And my point in saying all this to you tonight, the American voter who are listening to this podcast, don't believe a blank word the media tells you at this point, because they are editing video, they are editing copy. Check it out for yourself. Check it out for yourself. Thank God for the internet, because these three main networks, ABC, NBC, CBS, the fix is in. MSNBC, the fix is in. CNBC, the fix is in. Fox News, unfortunately, there are reporters on there and pundits that do not like Trump. The fix is in. And I want to just say this tonight. Look, Donald Trump was very presidential this morning on Fox and Friends. He basically told the group listening to him say, we've got to get tougher on terror. We have got to get our intelligence community tougher. You know, he was very grateful to the first responders. He was very grateful to those that went in there and captured, the gentleman later that morning. He did not say anything that was out of ordinary. I listened to his comments live Saturday night. I listened to what he said. I didn't hear anything that was bad. And to be frank with you, I didn't hear anything bad that Mrs. Clinton said. My issue is not what she said. My issue is how the media portrayed it and reported it. And that, folks, is driving most of us out here in the real world crazy, because we can't get a fair shake for our candidate. And we're never going to get a fair shake for him. So we might as well just live with it. But I want you to know you need to be aware what you hear on the networks and what you hear on television and the mainstream media is not right many times. Because they twist the words, they twist the news, they twist the headlines, they hammer certain headlines for Trump, they lay back on headlines for Hillary, and they do everything in their power to make her look like the good guy. Trump is a wild psychopath bad guy. And that's going to continue right up to this debate. He's very concerned about the moderators. I'm very concerned about the moderators, because those moderators will control the tone of this conversation Monday night. And Trump is going to have to be on his game. He's going to have to be very patient. He can't throw a barb at her that's personal, even though I'm sure there'll be many coming to him. It's going to be a tough call for his campaign, how they're going to handle this Monday night. And it's a week from tonight, and we will be there covering it. We'll be live on our podcast watching it with you. And we're going to try to find a live feed and listen to the debate, and it'll be an extended podcast. And then after it's over, we'll give commentary on it afterwards as well. So we want you to join us next Monday night. I think the debate starts at 9 o'clock. We should be here, and we look forward to you being there with us next Monday night. Well, that's all I got to say about the terror attack. Again, Godspeed to these policemen up there tonight, the FBI, for capturing this guy. We thank God that only 29 people were hurt. And I don't mean that in a slight of the 29. Folks, this could have been far worse. Thank God nobody was killed. And that's what I'm trying to say. Even though there was some injuries, it could have been a lot worse. And we've just got to be vigilant, because I don't think this is the end of this. I will mention one quick thing before I change subjects tonight. And I listened to the Fox coverage this afternoon a little bit. I just can't stand Shepard Smith. I'm just going to be honest with you. I can't stand it when he's on, and I had to stomach it because none of the other networks was really covering it. And that's another thing I should bring in here. It took the mainstream media 2.5 hours to be covering the terrorist event while it was going on. Fox was on it immediately. They didn't even want to cover it because they didn't think it was important. But what they were doing during their news shows all Saturday was bashing Trump for 2 hours. And then all of a sudden word got to him, hey, we've had a bomb go off in New York. Maybe we need to cover it. And that's the stupidity of the left-wing, mainstream, stupid-ass media. And they should have been on this just like any other network should have been, but they wasn't. But one thing I want to mention tonight that did bother me today about the reporting that I heard, and that's not so much the reporting, but one of the things that Rick Leventhal, who I do like at Fox, said. He said this guy, it almost was like he wanted them to catch him. It was like he left his fingerprints on his cell phone, left his fingerprints on the bomb. He left fingerprints everywhere. I mean, man, this was like a zigzag. When they found him at that bar in New Jersey this morning, they had no problem tracking him down. It was almost like he gave himself up. And it reminds me of a little bit of the technique of jihadists when these suicide bombers, when they go in and they blow themselves up in these places and these stores. Folks, they're going back not to come back. And they know good and well when they go into these situations, their life is basically over. And I don't think this guy may have had that deep ideology to where he wanted to kill himself, but I'm just going to throw this thought out tonight that I'm not so sure he worked alone. I know what the federal authorities are saying. I know what the police are saying tonight, but it's almost like, to me, it was a dry run for something bigger. I think that he did this, and I think other people are watching this tonight. I think the terrorists are watching. They see how he got, how far he got with it, where he failed, where he succeeded, where the bombs were placed, and then he got caught. And again, he got caught without, other than just a small shootout where a few officers were injured. He really didn't resist. And that leaves a little pit in my stomach, just a little bit. And I'm just, again, this is a opinion podcast, and that's just my opinion tonight. You may not agree with that, but I just feel like that may be something that may be working. Okay, and that's that. But again, we're very grateful tonight that the officers are okay, the ones that got hurt. We're very grateful for the fact that those that are injured are not seriously injured. And we are very, very happy that they caught this SOB who did this, and we will go on from there. I want to turn to something else tonight that is going on, and one thing I do want to mention, the Emmys last night, if you got a chance to see them. I tell you, I love award shows, but these award shows are getting to the point that you can't tune them in for the liberal crap that comes out of these people's mouths. It was nothing but a 2-hour Donald Trump bash session with everybody that came on that stage last night, making fun of him, mocking him, laughing at him. Man, it was all funny. You know, this is ha ha ha. You know, him being running, Julia Dreyfus saying she is apologizing for the electoral process in our country. Really, Julia? Are you kidding me? I mean, give me a break. You know, the very things they're mocking Trump about. I mean, you know, they could lay on Hillary's door in a second. They could lay on her door in a second. Now, Obama is turned into a campaigner for Mrs. Clinton, and we want to talk about him tonight because he was not very friendly to Donald Trump over the weekend, and I want to just read you a couple of his comments. We will have this story on our website this tomorrow on the East Tennessee Times. But one of the things that he said to the Black Caucus Saturday night really got my attention. And I want to talk about that a little bit tonight. This is what Obama said at a fundraiser Wednesday night, and I want you to listen to this. He delivered this speech to the Black Caucus, and in delivering his speech, he tied support for Hillary Clinton into his legacy. But the way he said it was this, and this is what he said. He said, if I hear anybody saying their vote does not matter, that it doesn't matter. Hang on just a second. These websites have got sound. He said, if I hear anybody saying their vote does not matter, that it doesn't matter who we elect, read up on your history. It matters. We've got the people to vote. Now, he's talking about black folks. He wasn't talking to white folks. He's talking to black folks. He said, I will consider it a personal insult, an insult to my legacy, if this community lets down its guard and fails to activate itself in this election. You want to give me a good send-off, go vote. But he basically told his supporters that he would consider it a insult to himself if they didn't go vote. And then it got deeper into this, and I'm going to mention this comment. He said Obama's tone turned serious, and this is what he said about what's at stake. He said, you may have heard Hillary's opponent in this election say that there's never been a worse time to be a black person. I mean, he missed that whole civics lesson about slavery or Jim Crow. But we got a museum for him to visit so he can tune in we will educate him. And folks, let me just give you a little history lesson tonight about slavery and Jim Crow. The Democratic Party is the source of slavery laws and the Jim Crow laws. And Obama saying that there's never been a worse time than the time now, Trump saying there's never been a time to be a bad black person, and him trying to tie it into the Jim Crow laws and the slavery of the past, he's got his own party to blame. His own party is guilty of that. They're the ones that started that law. The Democratic Party is the one that started the KKK. They're the ones that are at the root of those things. And it's unreal that he would look at the camera and say, Donald Trump needs a civic lesson. Mr. President, you need a civics lesson. You need a civics lesson. Southern Democrats formed these organizations back in the 1800s that violently intimidated blacks. Very much intimidated them out of voting. The Republicans were the ones that tried to help the blacks get political power. The most prominent group that the Democrats formed in 1865, ironically 100 years before I was born. The Ku Klux Klan, who was formed in my state of Tennessee. I'm not from here originally, but it was formed in Pulaski, Tennessee. It's the Democratic Party that did that. It wasn't Republicans. And it wasn't Donald Trump. And for him to tell the black folks this is an insult to his legacy if they don't go out and vote for Hillary Clinton, let me just ask you a question tonight on this podcast. And I want you to just think about this a minute. Just think about this. What would have happened if the media, if that had been Donald Trump speaking to a group of white folks, okay, if there would have been a white caucus or a white gathering of people, think about this a minute. What would have happened if Donald Trump would have went into that white forum and said, it will be a personal insult to me if you don't vote for me because you're white? The media would have been covering that all weekend and today and would have forgotten even about the terror outfit because that would have been front page news on the New York Times. But Obama says it and he gets away with it. And I'm going to say something tonight, and I love all you folks out there that are covered. I've got not a racial bone in my body. I've got friends that are as dear to me as brothers and sisters, my own flesh and blood that are black. I've got people in my life that I love and respect, I look up to, and they're black. And I'm white, and we're friends, and we get together, and we sit down, and we talk, and we fellowship one with another, and we understand the differences sometimes, but we don't hate each other. But I'm going to tell you this tonight. Your president, Mr. President Barack Obama, has been the most racist president and the most bigoted president this country has ever seen. Ever. Those comments that he made this weekend are as racist and as bigoted as anything the KKK could have ever done. That was an insult to me. And everybody should be insulted about that when he says it's an insult to his legacy. If people don't go out and vote for her because she's a Democrat. Folks, they're voting for the very party that put these people in the predicament they're in tonight. Honey, it's not a matter of skin color in this nation. It's a matter of sin. It's not a matter of race and color of your skin. It's a matter of your color and the color of your heart. I don't care what color this man's skin is, but his heart is as dark and as wicked as anything I have ever seen in my life. And I'm going to tell you about his legacy. I would love to go over his legacy. His legacy has been filled with nothing but lies, mistruths, hidden agendas, hidden agreements behind closed doors, seeking to destroy the foundations of this country, attacking Christians, putting Islam first, basically shunning aside, keeping Christian immigrants out of this country, bringing Muslims in without question, destroying our border, putting Obamacare on the American public. People I know that are under Obamacare, premiums as high as $600 to $700 a month with deductibles in the $10,000 to $20,000 range. Folks, that is not insurance. That's a scam. That's a pyramid scheme to get money from you, the American voter, into the government. And then he brags on television and lies and says, oh, we've got 60 million people now on insurance rolls. Folks, that insurance is worthless as this pad. That insurance is not insurance. It's a pyramid scheme. And it's crumbling by the day because every provider out there can't afford to stay in it. They're getting out of it. When you go to sign up for Obamacare next year, guess how many choices you're going to have? 6. 6. Where's my camera? 6. That's it. And there may be less than that. He lied to the American people. If you have a doctor, you can keep your doctor. That was a lie. Premiums won't go up. Double jeopardy. Not collect $200. Try for double jeopardy, Mr. Obama. Not going to work. That was a lie too. He's done nothing but lie. He's done nothing but sow discord in this nation. From Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri, getting on television and basically blaming the police before he knew a daggum thing about it. Trayvon Martin. I'm not as sympathetic as situation to Mr. The guy that was involved in that. There was a lot of gray area about Trayvon. But the jury of his peers found him not guilty. But even at that, it was Obama's sticking his nose in that stirred up the tension, stirred up the pressure. Every time he turns around, he's bad-mouthing the cops, bad-mouthing police when he can. Never one time bad-mouthing the criminal. Michael Brown was a thug. Hands up, don't shoot was a lie. Black Lives Matter movement built their whole movement on that lie. They've been to the Obama White House. Folks, that is racism. That is bigotry. But all they can do, all this Democratic machine can do right now, the only hope they've got to win this election is convince you and convince me that it's not them that are the bigots, it's Donald Trump. And unfortunately, 50% of the country is listening to him. And it's tragic and it's sad. But I'm going to tell you right now, not everybody's buying it. He's surging in the polls. He's moving up. And I believe that in the end, the American people are going to see all through this. So, Mr. Obama, in the event that you may be listening tonight, which may be 1 in a million, but I've got more respect for my dog than I do you. You've never respected this office as president. And because you don't respect the office, I have no respect for you. You have denigrated this office to nothing but a ideology-based administration for 8 years where you've done nothing but push agendas that are anti-American, anti-capitalism, anti-unity, anti-everything that means anything to anybody. And you're certainly not a Christian. I'm not a judge. I don't put myself up as a judge of anybody, but you're about as much a Christian as the Pope is Protestant. And neither are true. You've supported abortion. You've supported the killing of babies. You lied. You told everybody, oh, I'm for one man and one woman in a marriage. And the second that this Supreme Court decision came down last July, you turned the White House in rainbow colors in honor of this law. But you never one time, Mr. President, not once turned the White House blue when those officers in Dallas, Texas got killed this summer. You are pathetic, and your legacy is pathetic. So if going out and voting for Donald Trump is an insult to your legacy, count me in. That's just one more reason to vote for him. Tough words, but it angered me to hear him say what he said this weekend, because it's not an insult to anybody's legacy. Mr. Obama has destroyed this country in 8 years. And those of you that can't see that, there's really no hope for me to try to convince you, because you're like this. And nothing I say will change that. But if Hillary Clinton gets the reins of this country and we deal with 4 more years of what we've dealt with the last 8, there will be no America as we know it. There barely is one left as it is. But for him to lecture Donald Trump, about civics lessons is rich. Because it wasn't the Republicans that started Jim Crow laws, and it wasn't the Republicans that have held the blacks down in all these major cities, and it's not the Republicans that have been in power when the black and unemployment rate is 25%. It's not the Republicans that has pushed slavery from the day their party was started. And I'm going to say something a little bad here, and I apologize for the expletive what I'm about to use, but Lyndon B. Johnson made a statement back in 1960s, and please pardon me, I don't use this word, but I'm just quoting him. But when he said in 1960, we'll have those niggers voting for us for the next 50 years, that was not a Republican saying that, sir. That was a Democratic president. And that's how they have felt for over 200, close to 150 years. That's how they felt. And that's how they feel tonight. But the media will cover that up and lie about it unless you think that it's not them that's bigots, it's Donald Trump. So, Mr. Obama, if voting for Donald Trump is an insult to your legacy, so be it. So be it. So be it. It'll be good to see you leave this White House come January. It will be good to see you go. Because we've had nothing but a racial divide in this country that has been, without a doubt, and it may never get repaired, what's happened over these last 8 years. It's going to take a real leader. It's going to take somebody with a humble heart, somebody that understands it's not white America and black America. We're one America. We're one America. And the blacks out there, I love you to death, but white people don't owe you a thing. We don't owe you anything, and you don't owe us anything. There may be people in this country who are racist, but there is not systematic racism in America. And there's not systematic racism in policing. The police are trying to uphold the law. You don't want to get shot by cops? Obey the law. You break into a store, you pull for an officer's gun, you wrestle with an officer when he tells you to put your hands down. Honey, you get what you deserve if you get shot. And this nation is on the brink of complete, utter anarchy and lawlessness because of this very thing. It goes back down to leadership. It goes to leadership. And the kind of leader we elect in November is going to determine a great deal of what's ahead for this country. Just remember that. All righty. Phew. Powerful Mac file tonight on Monday night, September the 19th. I've got a lot more to say, but I don't want to keep rambling because I've been on here a while. I do want to just talk a little football with you here at the end. Man, what a weekend. What a weekend of college football. Louisville just absolutely annihilated number 2 Florida State. My Noles 63-20. They are number 3 in the nation tonight as we go into this coming week. They jumped almost 7 spots and deservedly. Their quarterback, Martin, is going to be probably the Heisman Trophy winner. And he showed why Saturday without a doubt. This kid's the real deal. Louisville's the real deal. Florida State, season's not over, but it's going to be tough. And I think the Louisville-Clemson game, which comes up next week, is going to be one worth the popcorn. That one we'll all be watching because that is going to be a great game between them. Bama pulled out a squeaker over Ole Miss, 48-43. Ohio State basically destroyed Oklahoma. They're number 2 tonight. And the other top 5 teams had podunk teams. Clemson beat South Carolina State 59-0. Michigan just walloped. I can't remember who they beat, but they won easy. The biggest news over the weekend is actually Florida, the Gators, who are coming to visit my Vols next weekend. And their quarterback, Del Rio, got hurt, and they have got Alton Osby now as the backup that will be coming to Knoxville to take on the Vols in the Vols' first SEC game. That is going to be a great game here at Neyland Stadium next weekend, and it will be another great game. How about them Dogs? I just want you to know I root for the Vols, the Dogs, and the Noles, and at least 2 of my teams did good this weekend. The Dogs, what a great win in Columbia Saturday night on that last minute throw by Eason to the receiver, McKenzie. And it was a tremendous game, nail-biter, but the Dogs are 2-0, looking great. They go to Ole Miss this weekend. Big test for Kirby Smart on the road. This is going to be a good one, too. And if they come out of this one, they're going to be set. I think they're going to have a great year ahead of them. And I'm really proud of Kirby. And I just want to say this about the football this weekend, too. I drive for Uber at night sometimes, and I had a gentleman in my car a few nights ago from Penn State, and he was really, really perturbed that Penn State Saturday, if you didn't hear, they honored Joe Paterno. They called it Joe Paterno Day, and they honored the late coach and his wins. And I really find that disenfranchising to Penn State. I really believe that was a insult to all the victims of Jerry Sandusky and all the rape victims that he raped all those years. And Joe Paterno turned a blind eye. I respect Joe Paterno as a coach, but I have no respect for him as a man. And I really don't have respect for him as a coach because he knew what was going on all these years, and he did zilch to stop it. And I just think Penn State shamed itself by honoring that and what they did. And that's just an opinion. You may disagree with that. But the program deserves whatever punishment it gets. I asked the gentleman. He was an alumni there. And I said, well, do you think that the NCAA did the right thing by taking all those wins away? He said they should have done worse. He said they should have just basically removed the football program from off the face of the earth. And that's coming from a Penn State guy. And I can't say that I disagree with him. But those were the stories from this weekend. We will do this every Monday. We'll sum up the college, and I'll mention the pros here real quickly before we go home tonight. The Falcons, my Falcons, 1-1, went into a very hostile environment. They won against the Raiders 35-28. Of course, my neighbors probably had to call the police on me a few times for screaming at the TV and all the missed tackles and the defense that really needs some work. But thank God our offense was on cue this Sunday. Matt Ryan looked great. Julio was back in form. Running game was in form. That offensive line manhandled Oakland all day long. And when it came down to cases, the Falcons made a big play there on fourth down to stop them on defense, took the ball in for the go-ahead touchdown, and that was the game, and got the first down to end it and run the clock out. So well done, Dan Quinn. Falcon for life. I'm a red and black. I bleed it, baby. I may hate them sometimes and want to kill them all, but I love my Falcons. And I do love the Panthers. They did a good job Sunday. They defeated San Francisco. I saw a meme about Colin Kaepernick I'll share with you before I leave tonight. He was sitting on the bench, and the meme said basically, I'm not sure if this means he just sucks at being a quarterback or he's sitting at the national anthem. I say he sucks at being a quarterback, and he sucks as a human being. That's my take on Colin Kaepernick and the NFL. Good games coming up this weekend, and a lot of good college football. We'll have a Football Friday again, and we do appreciate you being with us tonight. This is the 8th installment of the Mac Files. We will actually be starting a new YouTube channel called the Mac Files, and if you go to our Facebook page, if you're on our Facebook friend, or you want that link, please feel free to email us. We have a new email also. It's called the Mac Files Network at gmail.com. The THEMC Files Network at gmail.com. If you have a comment or you want to email us, we'll send you the link to our new YouTube channel. This dashboard on Ustream don't allow us to put comments on this thing, but we will get that out to YouTube, our Twitter, and our Facebook pages. But that's going to be a new YouTube channel just for these broadcasts, our personal YouTube. We have some songs and different things on there that we do, and some other things that we save, and we're going to try to keep this separate from that. But anyway, that is that, and that is the Mac Files for a beautiful Monday night in the hills of East Tennessee. We'll be coming to you from down south this week, different location, visiting some sweet friends, beautiful friends, and taking care of some business and so forth. We'll be back here next Monday in Tennessee. We'll be back here next Monday night for the debate, but we'll be broadcasting. Keep looking for it. We'll be there on Q tomorrow, sometime during the day in the evening, with the 9th installment of the Mac Files. But tonight, this has been about terrorism and the absolute insulting comments by Barack Obama this weekend about Donald Trump. But folks, let me tell you this about those comments. Those comments were not just insulting to Donald Trump. Those comments are insulting to the American people. And that should disturb us more than anything he says about Donald Trump. And that's that. And that is the Mac Files for Monday night. Chris McDonald. Hope you have a blessed evening, everyone. Godspeed. God bless America. Good night from the hills of Tennessee. We love you. See you tomorrow.